All right, welcome back to the program. My guest is joining me right now, JT Oshoke Abu, who is a career coach. He wants to be addressed as such.
Yes.
Welcome to the program. How you doing?
I'm well, thank you for having me.
Likewise, thank you for coming. Okay, uh, this topic, is it a necessary topic?
Absolutely.
Why?
So it's the beginning of the year, and with the beginning of the year comes expectations. You know, the end of every year, people have this tendency to take a stock. They review and appraise their year. So what have I achieved this year? Have I achieved all that I set out to? And then now we're in a new year. How do I also achieve those things that I set out to achieve this year? So as a result of that, you discover that people would be having a sort of expectation that if they do not pause to actually reflect over what has gone well, what can I do differently, what have I learned from what I did last year, that why didn't I achieve the result that I set out to achieve last year, and what can I learn from that so that going forward I can achieve a different outcome. So it's very relevant at moments like this.
Do you think that people still do this? Do you think that people still take stock in Nigeria, especially where you have 133 million people living in multidimensional poverty that are trying to, scuffle for what they need to eat, let alone saying, how did my last year go, and all of that. Do you think that, I don't even know if we still have a middle class anymore, that majority of us are really caught up in the middle in terms of, we're just trying to get by. So what you did last year, you just continue as it were this year. Do you think that people still take stock?
Yeah, because, so yes, I agree with that. The gap is really widening, so the middle class is almost going extinct, yeah? So people take stock in the sense that whether you like it or not, you would be forced to. Because there is a general wave as the year is coming to an end and the year is starting again, 2023. There is that frenzy of New Year resolutions, goal setting. Everybody's talking about it. I said I was going to do this year. My favorite. I said I was going to lose weight this year. And I'm still here. I've not achieved that. So yes, somehow people unconsciously, because when they see what they thought they wanted to achieve and they've not achieved it, somehow you just have to take stock. It's a normal thing.
What are the usual habits, or what are the common habits that people will say, I was doing and I don't want to do it again? You've just given us one. I need to lose weight. Perhaps what comes to my mind for the smokers is every year they'll be like, I need to stop smoking.
Yeah.
Next year, whatever it is that they smoke, I need to, what else again? I need to stop drinking. Those are the two coming to
I
my
need to
mind.
save more money.
Yes, I need to. It's a money program. I need to save more money.
I need to save more money.
But I'll tell people, perhaps you also need to invest more.
Absolutely.
As it were.
Yes.
Okay, what else?
Yeah, so spiritual goals. So people have all sort of goals. So this year I'm going to be closer to God. This year I'm going to fast. I'm going to attend service more. It depends on your religion. I'll become more spiritual. I'm going to invest in my personal development. Of course, I want a better job. I want to buy that house. I want to build that house and all that. Going back to the first question in the beginning that you asked me, is this really relevant at this point? I'll tell you, look, Alvin Toffler said that the illiterates of the 21st century are not those who cannot read and write, but will be those who cannot learn, unlearn, and relearn. So it's ever present. So it's an ever-changing world. And if you're not in a position that you should be relearning or unlearning what you've learned before, then you're just going to remain exactly, you'll get the same results you've always gotten.
So why is it important that we should learn, unlearn and relearn, especially to stay current and to get ahead in life? Market, to stay current and to get ahead in life, because you may actually be learning what is not even relevant to you, or you may be encapsulated in the monopoly of your knowledge. Like, okay, I know it all. You understand what I mean?
I do.
So why is it that important?
Yes, there are two critical words you've already used: relevance. Because it is critical for you, if you do not learn, then you're being left behind. You said current, right? The world is ever changing. So it's ever, we say we live in a VUCA world right now. The world is volatile, things can happen in the next couple of months or just tomorrow. You could just hear that something happened, God forbid. We had it 2-3 years ago. You know, we didn't plan for that and COVID happened and it resets the entire world. So why you must relearn? And then for those in career, for those in the workspace, for those in businesses, they had to adapt. So adaptation. So if you do not unlearn what you know previously, you would be left behind. So there are new ways of doing things. New knowledge is coming. New systems are coming up. New technology in businesses. New ways of innovations and creativity. So for growth too. If you want to grow, and as human beings, everybody, naturally we desire to grow, right? It's a natural characteristic of living things. So if you do not learn or relearn and unlearn, then you're going to stay stagnant. So that's why it's really critical that topics like this are discussed at moments such as this.
Now, let's take a look at the aspect of learning. And what came to my mind really is that what's coming to my mind are the Gen Zs. The Gen Zs that we have now cannot actually comprehend, even for those of us that are living right now. If you take a look back prior the year 2000, you will be wondering how we were able to socialize at that point. Or even the Gen Zs will be wondering how our social life was at that point, and even doing work without computers, doing work without emails, doing work without mobile phones. They can't comprehend it. A child of 5, 6, 4, 3 years now is navigating an iPad,
Absolutely.
for example. So how can you even tell that child that 25 years ago, something like this wasn't there? And I also want you to just suppose it to, by the time these Gen Zs become parents, for example, the world would have, the tech then would be more sophisticated than the antiquated tech. They'll be calling this current tech now antiquated.
True.
At that point. So what is the significance of, I hope you understand where I'm going to and what you need to derive from what I've just said. Why the significance of learning exactly before we go to unlearning and relearning?
Okay, yeah, so the significance of learning is that, look, so what any generation at all should learn, like I've established already, is that learning must be a continuum. It's a cycle. So learning is in stages. So what you were used to 5 years ago, so I'll give you a classic example, right? So when we went to school, like 30 years ago, we were taught in geography that Pluto was a planet.
Planet, yes.
Right? And we wrote that. So my kids now in primary school, they're coming home with their assignments, and I'm seeing that, hello, the planet, the solar system, Pluto is no longer a planet, right? So there is, what a Gen Z or anybody should realize at this moment is that open-mindedness. Information, knowledge will change. So what used to be relevant now may no longer be relevant tomorrow. So what got you this far may not take you farther than where you are at the moment. So in every sphere of life, irrespective, it cuts across generation, it cuts across career, and these are practical. So if you want to keep being relevant, if you want to keep getting results that you desire, then you must always recognize and be aware that things are changing. And if you want to move with the times, then you've got to be open-minded, to be willing and ready to also change and move with the tides, move with the trends, in line with what the world is offering and how you can also still become relevant in playing in this present world.
Now, how do you learn when perhaps, must this learning be within a formal system? It mustn't.
Absolutely not.
Especially with the institutions we have right now. For instance, you're seeing that people are graduating with certificates and BScs or BAs in perhaps in Yoruba language, not to demean anyone, or IRK, that's CRK. There's also IRK, I think.
There is.
Yes, you know. In Igbo, in geography, as you've said.
Yes.
And those people are still trying to find their feet. Where do we function in this kind of society?
Okay, so learning, what is learning? So fundamentally, learning is about acquiring new skills, new knowledge, by different means. It could be through formal education. through going to school, through trainings. It could be by picking up books to read, by exposing yourself to information. Look, this generation, the current generation, I would say are the luckiest when it comes to learning. Because at your fingertips, all you need is a phone and the internet. Information overload is at your disposal. You can cross-check this, you can check that, you can check all that. So learning is ever present around us. For instance, I'll give you a classic example of maybe an intern comes to AIT and has been watching Nancy and they love what you do and they want to learn. They don't have the qualification, perhaps they study one of those courses you've already reeled out, but their passion, their interest is to be a presenter big time just like you. But they come here and they apply for internship and they just want to study. They just want to shadow you. They want to watch you so you can learn informally just by doing that. You can learn by observation.
I have those people already working with me.
Absolutely.
I have interns working with me as we speak.
Exactly.
I always have them continually.
Absolutely.
Yeah. So that's a form of learning.
That's a form of learning.
And just to add to what you've said, in fact, majority of the people that I have now are mass communication graduates. And this could be like their first time in a TV studio. So they did not see that. They didn't teach them, but the lecturers were teaching them mass communication courses, theory, but now they are able to experience it.
Yes.
So it's part of learning.
It's part of
learning
learning.
New skills, honing the skills which you have. Okay, what else? Let's take a look at perhaps in career or businesses, perhaps those that have 9-to-5 jobs,
Yes.
and also in businesses. What are the things that those categories of people can learn right now? Just opposing it to the globalization of talents, globalization of economies. Talking about business, we see what happened during COVID. Logistics was messed up.
Yeah.
But China really got back on its track. China was like the supplier of whole things to the world, and they opened up at that time.
True.
So what do you say to 9-to-5 people, as well as those that have businesses?
So what I say to people like this is, look, it's no longer business as usual. And I go back to, if you want to play in the current world, then you've got to be up and doing. You've got to be ahead. So I tell a 9-to-5 or a business owner, what is trending? Where is the direction of the world right now? Where are we going to? Are you studying your environment to know what information should I be learning? What skills as a professional should I be learning? The ones that I have, will they still be relevant going forward? Now we're going tech, right? So what kind of skills such as digital skills, analytical skills, these are skills that are put, so 2-3 years ago, we struggled with working from home, right? It is the new normal. Globalization, people, I'm a HR professional, right? So people can stay in Nigeria at the moment and Japa, but physically here.
Yeah.
There are global opportunities, remote work here and there. But if you have not positioned yourself, if you have not trained yourself, if you have not learned enough to be relevant to play, where you can leverage on technology, where you can sell the skills that is in demand at the moment, then you will not be able to play in that global field that the world has turned into at the moment.
So much is being, you know, so much has been talked about technology. Do you think that that is really the key that really unlocked all of this? Because whatever we're saying right now, we just hinge it on technology. We hinge it on, okay, internet. We hinge it on digital connections and all of that. Is it overrated?
Well, I don't think so, because I think technology has its plus and minuses. But I think positively it has enhanced, because what is technology? Really is just to enhance. So we used to do things like this, but I mean, I tie it back to learning. So we used to have technology, but maybe some primitive archaic technology, first technology, say a fire, for instance. And what could fire do for us? Fire could heat us, warm us up, do stuff for us, cook with it, convert raw meat into meat, and then we process it differently, storage and all that, right? While it was also destructive, but learning to contain it. But now we're in a studio. We're getting energy, and it's been processed into different forms
of energy,
that is beginning to serve us in different ways. So I would say technology is an enabler, but you cannot take the human parts from it. Technology does not have emotional intelligence. Technology is not going to come to do this. Yes, you can reel out news, you can do presentations, but there is that connection. So I would say technology and humans should work together.
Are you telling me that my work is not at risk because there are some because there are some jobs? I think a friend of mine, a guest also, Dr.
Yeah.
Tokme Fashua,
Yes.
wrote a
Great guy.
book. Yes, some time ago.
Yeah.
There are things to do before your job is taken away from you. So I can't remember the exact title
Yes.
of his book, but he wrote that book. At least I saw that book like 8-10 years ago, if I'm
Wow.
not mistaken.
Yeah.
So, are you saying that my job is not at risk because there are so many jobs that technology has taken over?
Yes.
You know?
So it's awareness.
That's part of learning and
It's part of learning. So,
learning and also relearning.
So I'll give you a classic scenario. So there was a brilliant student in Japan, right? So he had gone all over the world. He set out to study. And he had studied philosophy, he studied religion. He came to a Zen master. So Zen is a form of Buddhism, right? So he came to him and he said, Master, I've traveled the world. I've learned about this religion. I've mastered all the philosophies, but I want to learn about Zen. Can you teach me so that I can also become an expert and a master just like you are? But the Zen master did not respond. What he did was he brought out a cup in front of the students and he kept on pouring tea. He was pouring tea until it got filled up. And then the tea started spilling on the table. He wasn't saying anything. But the student looking at that, what are you doing? He got infuriated and he was upset and said, Master, but the tea is pouring on the table. And the master smiled and he said, yes, you are just like the cup. You are full already. If you want to learn about Zen, then you've got to empty the cup for you to be able to take in. That means you've got to unlearn. You're already blocked. So you've come with a full mind. If you want to learn, there are certain things you've got to unlearn so that you can take in new information and new stuff. So I used to be a banker. Now when the COVID came, some people said, oh, my job is at risk.
A risk, yeah.
Right? But they told the processing people, the tellers, the customer service, when you go to banks now, it's not as much as your job is at risk, but it presents opportunity. So technology comes with opportunity. And what are those opportunities? Now you could do other, online banking now became what is, the banking was tilting towards. So I say I'm already in the system. What if I open up myself to learn new skills that can help me to now become a digital marketer, that can make me to go into creativity and innovation angle or ICT of the bank while still remaining in the system? I may not be punching teller in anywhere because ATMs are going to replace front-facing staff and all that customer service is already online. So it's just about having an open mind and saying, so I know there is a threat right now. How do I reinvent myself, learn new things so that I stay relevant?
So what are some of the things that we can unlearn as well as relearn? Are there specific things that perhaps we need to come with a relearning approach as well as an unlearning approach in career or even in businesses?
Yes. Okay, so I'll approach that this way. So we are creatures of habits, human beings. We gravitate towards the familiar. It takes about 20 years for us to form as an adult. From childhood, 20 years, our experiences, our habits, our attitudes, we've learned all that, right? And we're used to doing things in a certain way. So if you want to change, or if you want, then first things first, you've got to awareness. Awareness that this has helped me thus far, but if I want to go forward,
what I know now,
cannot take me there. Exactly. So coming with an open mind, being aware, and then beginning to take those steps to unlearn habits. So I want to make extra income this year as a 9-to-5er. I want to make 10 million naira extra, but I am still doing the same thing that I used to do last year. I am saving less. How do I stop? There's something we do in strategy session for, if I train a corporate, I say, look, what do we need to stop? What do we need to start? And what do we need to continue doing? So if you do that reflection and then you sit down and ask yourself, so I did this last year, it got me here. What are those habits? You know those habits, unhealthy habits, that extra spending, that craving that you couldn't control, maybe by way of indiscipline. You couldn't just delay that gratification. You see, you would have saved money from there, and then you would have put that money aside, and you'll be able to take that course you want to take. You'll be able to save that extra income, purchase that property, buy that thing that you said you really wanted to buy, make that trip and all that. So it's habits. Changing the habits, the little things, start from the little things. And then from there, it can crystallize, metamorphose into the bigger things. And you see those results, and the outcomes eventually will start coming in.
What will it take for you? What will it take for one to imbibe discipline? Because if you want to change a habit, you know, a destructive habit or a habit that is not taking you to your destination, what will it take for you to imbibe discipline? Because sometimes you may just do it for 1 day, 2 days, and you just, you know, and you derail, as it were. You know, what will it take you to imbibe that discipline? For instance, many women are culpable of every ashwebi we are going to buy, every party we are going to go.
Yes.
And a lot of, I see the trends now, they sew all these nice dresses and gowns to go for a wedding, and that's just once. You don't wear it again, as it were. And those are thousands of naira. I'm just taking that as an example.
Perfect example.
You know, there are other examples too. But what will it take me to be disciplined to ensure that perhaps my finances are in check, my career, I'm on the right path, and I'm moving in the right direction, doing the right things, and all of that.
Yeah, so I like that. So discipline itself, it's what you do on your own. So it comes from the inside, it's intrinsic. It's determination. It's you telling yourself, look, this year, I am going to stay on this goal. I'm going to stay committed. So commitment, determination, commitment, and consistency. So I know it's not going to be easy in the beginning. Now all your friends, they maybe perhaps you're married already, they bought you ashwebi. And then now it's my turn. You don't want to buy my own ashwebi. There are other ways. What is even this ashwebi? A lot of people, they just want to make some extra money
Income.
from it. It's not as if they're really interested for you to look like them
it's
on
a
that
way
day.
of making income.
So what if I package my own money? Maybe the ashwebi, the lace would cost me 25 to 30,000 naira. And I tell myself, look, if I give this my friend
10,000,
and I package and send to her, she would appreciate that 10K. 1 or 2 times, you see, just like traveling for the Christmas, a lot of people travel. I put out a video then, I said, look, do you have to make this trip? You've always been used to traveling and traveling and I must go for all the weddings. I must travel. Consider the transport, consider the risk, consider all the things you're going to be leaving behind. What if you sent that money? So discipline really is about determination and telling yourself, look, I want to do this, and then taking the first step, and then continually keep taking one step at a time until you have formed the habits and it becomes part of you. And naturally, you just begin to do it effortlessly.
Effortlessly. Okay. Any final word just before we go? Do you have any other thing that perhaps you've not said or haven't asked that you want to say?
All right. Okay, so the world is ever changing, right? When the context change, you must be able to adapt. And one of the ways you can do that is by taking inventory, is by learning to unlearn, because you need to learn to unlearn. Yeah. And then once you have unlearned, it means you have emptied yourself of something that no longer serves you, and say, okay, so what do I need to learn? So I'll say come into this year with a positive attitude, with a positive mindset, and not fixated. So the fixed mindset would just remain exactly what they've done. My final word would be that, look, people, as an individual, as a business, as a nation, we're going into elections. We've always done things the same way. It has given us this result. So what if I sat down and began to reevaluate and say, okay, if I want to get a different result, what do I need to do differently? What do I need to learn in my career this year? What do I need to learn or unlearn in my business this year and relearn so that I can get better outcomes and my year can be better than the ones I have had previously?
Thank you very much for coming. So many things that we would have unlocked from what you're saying, but of course we'll do another session.
I look forward to that.
Because what's also coming to my mind is if you are faced with people that don't want to unlearn and relearn, perhaps as a business owner and all of that, what do you do? The easiest part for some people is to fire. Some people is to train. So we could look at that that later, because some people also don't want to unlearn and also relearn. So thank you very much.
Thank you for having me.
For coming. I was speaking with JT Oshoke Abu, who is a career coach, and we've been talking about learning, unlearning, and relearning. That's the show today, as well as this week. Be the best you can be and be the change that you want to see. I'm landing the plane now, though it was turbulent, caused earlier by my director, Mr. Kirokbo. We'll do better next time. Let's try to relearn as well as unlearn. I'll see you all again next week. Bye for now.